Podcast, where we take a deep dive into all things ammunition. I'm your host, Audrey Mayes, and today I'm sitting down with Research and Development Engineer Zach Caldwell.
Hey.
And Head of Research and Development, Jon Langenfeld.
Good morning.
It is January 6th, so we are here to talk about the .6s. Let's dive right in. The first thing that comes to mind for me is a 30-06. Do we have like a little history behind that?
Sure, yeah. So, where'd it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Go back to 1903, and you got the U.S. government coming off the 30-40 Krag cartridge, trying to get something that was higher velocity, get rid of the rim, something that would feed better, competing a little bit more with Mauser-type cartridges.
Sure.
And so the 30-03 was developed, 30 caliber. You gained about 100 feet per second over the 30-40 Krag, and they introduced it with a 220 grain round nose projectile. And at the time, I think that we were just a little slow in modernizing, our bullet shapes, because a lot of the other countries were using Spitzers, pointed projectiles.
Right.
And so in 1906, they basically took that same parent case, shortened the neck a little bit, put a 150 grain Spitzer bullet in there, and, there's your 30-06. 1906 was the year it was introduced. It was developed in that 30 caliber, so 30-06. And that's a long time ago. We've already had over 100 years with that cartridge, and it's still going strong today. Mm-hmm. Hunters, it's been used in wars. We were just counting a while ago 14 different SKUs that we offer in it, and it's still not getting overshadowed by all the cartridges that are being introduced. So,
such a classic name. I mean, it really tells you what it is. 30-06, 30 caliber bullet developed in 1906. There's no hiding.
100%, yeah.
And pretty much everybody knows what a 30-06 is if you shoot or hunt, or you can compare it to as a baseline to things. I feel like.
Yeah, that's not something that is, I've never heard of a 30-06 before if you're a hunter. It's just right there in the family. So
yeah, rooted, been around a long time, a non-magnum family. Mm-hmm. But, we've talked a little bit about versatility of cartridges on the podcast before and what they can be used for.
Right.
And the 30-06 is one of those, probably why it's so popular, is that you can literally do everything with it except dangerous game. Mm-hmm. You can hunt plains game in Africa. It's your deer, antelope rifle, elk, your moose, caribou. You can take it and use it on the big bears in Alaska if you want to. It may not be perfect, but, I know there's a lot of guides that would rather have you bring your deer rifle, on a 30-06 that you're familiar with shooting rather than bringing, an elephant gun that you don't shoot well. It's hard to go wrong with it. Yeah. And it works.
I know people, hogs, yotes, lions,
you can do it all with it. And if you look at the bullet weights that are offered, I think we offer, a 125?
125 up to 220.
Yeah. So, right there, if you want to go shoot varmints with it, a 125 grain bullet gets your velocity up. And if you want, the heaviest hitter that we have from a bullet weight standpoint, the big 220 round nose, it's going to plow through an elk very nicely. So, and everything in between, every family that we have, whether it's Premier Long Range, Core-Lock tipped, standard Core-Locked, different shapes and weights, 150s, 180s, probably 168s, 165s in some of them, Sirocco's. You're going to find it all. If you got a 30-06, there's not a bullet that we are loading or a category that's not going to be in 30-06.
Yeah, and they're using so many different guns, from your hunting bolt action to your semi-autos. So.
Yep, there have been a variety of them chambered over the years. You've got your classic, M1 Garands, 700s, Model 70s. You name it, the 30-06 has been there.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of those that, everybody says, I got to go in the gas station and find ammo for a 30-06. And, maybe not too much anymore that you're seeing ammo sold in gas stations, but at one time, so your sporting goods stores and everybody, they're always, if they don't have 30-06, there's a problem.
Right, you're behind.
Yeah.
And Zach, you hunt with a 30-06, right?
Yeah. My dad and granddad's all hunted with 30-06s. It was the first rifle that my dad bought for me. Killed a lot of deer with it.
Yeah.
I've shot 150 grain Core-Lock since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And it's just it gets the job done.
Yeah.
It's
can't complain about a 30-06. No, absolutely not. Yeah. And 30-06 isn't the only .6. You were telling me before that there's a whole .6 family.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cartridges that have been wildcatted and some commercialized over the years, just different calibers on the 30-06. And, your main probably wildcatting era, you were seeing a lot of these happen. Of course, the cartridge came around in the early 1900s. It was probably in the, 1920s, where you were seeing a lot of this happen. But if you just look at them, in your popular commercialized cartridges, Sammy introduced things like that. Your smallest one is your 25-06.
Right.
And you still have your same naming convention. What's that mean? It's 25 caliber and it's on the 06 case. It's in that family. And that one was a 1969 Remington introduction. So again, long history with Remington taking popular wildcats that consumers were building, forming their cases on their own, that sort of thing, and kind of bringing that into, commercial ammunition so that you could go buy the ammunition off the shelf. And so 25 caliber, a lot different than 30. You're talking a 257, caliber bullet versus a 308. So you're looking at bullet weights down around 100 grains.
Yeah, way smaller.
As your normal kind of nominal bullet weight rather than being up around 180 in a 30-06. So what do you do with that? Well, I mean, that kind of goes into your crossover territory of varmint, predator, into, thinner skinned, small, big game.
Right.
Antelope, deer sized animals. It's high velocity. You're well above 3,000 feet per second. So it's very flat shooting. But it's also hard on barrels. Anytime that you neck down a cartridge and you get what we call, overboard, your barrel life goes down. So your round count goes down for the life of that barrel. But the 25-06 has been around a long time. I know a few people here in Arkansas that hunt deer with it. They love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know a handful of people in Arkansas specifically that shoot a 25-06, but before I moved here, it wasn't a thing that was generally talked about. And I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that that 25-06 was a 1969 cartridge, and that's when this factory opened in Arkansas.
Pretty close to it, yeah. It could be. I don't know. It's a good possibility.
Yeah,
I think some of it they struggled originally when the wildcatters were messing with it, that the old powder blends were too hot. It was turning the barrels up.
Oh, okay.
And then some, powder developments around that time, kind of helped commercialize it because it wasn't as much of a bore burner anymore.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of wildcatters turn to, when the cartridge finally gets introduced to Sammy, they just turn to the factory ammunition because we test it.
Well, not only that, but you can now buy the brass. So they may no longer buy they may not just buy factory ammo, but they can go get factory produced brass or probably in that time period, maybe shoot the factory ammo and get the brass, and then they can load it or pull the bullets or something like that. All the above, is occurring or has occurred. But I can see the propellant development definitely helping something like the 25-06, because you're going to have to use a slower burning powder to drop your pressure because it's overboard to really take full potential and get the velocity out of it. And we've seen propellant development even within the last 10 years of what we can do with propellants that, and it's not just one particular manufacturer, but higher velocity, lower pressures, higher densities allow you to get more charge weight in a case, things like that. So, that's a good point. That's something that, I hadn't thought about, but I guess when you were looking through these, they were talking about that.
Yeah. I personally reach for a 25-06 for, coyotes, foxes, badgers.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the intent. If you want, somebody that goes out and buys one rifle and they don't want to, recoil is fairly mild relative to a 30-06.
Yeah.
Flat shooting, shoot smaller bullets, and you're a deer hunter as well. Boom, you got it. One cartridge, one rifle, and there you go.
Yeah. So I think it's like a really good Arkansas cartridge personally, but
sure.
Like I said, it's very popular here. But you were telling me earlier about all of these cartridges that are in the 06 family that I had no idea were in the 06 family because the naming convention isn't the same.
Yeah, they're not all something 06.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the same thing with an 08, but can you tell me a little bit about the other cartridges?
Yeah. So, I mean, if we just stick to caliber and kind of go up, One of them that is popular, but it's not SAMI, commercialized, is the 6.5-06. So it carries the naming convention, and that's just what it is. It's a 6.5 caliber bullet, 6.5 millimeter, 264 caliber, and on the 06 case.
Right.
And so that one is a little heavier bullet. If you're going up from 25, 257, now you're going to 264, you're shooting, 120s, 130s, 140s.
Yeah.
And so you're getting, pretty close into that 270 category, which you see in, other families of cases. But as you get heavier, you're starting to get a little bit more big game than varmint predator oriented.
Sure.
Not that you can't shoot that stuff with a 6.5-06. You can, but you're getting heavier bullets, higher BC if you want it. With the modern 140s. Now, I'm not sure what the twist rate was on a standard wildcat at 6.5-06, but today's world where you can just put pre-fit barrels on and things like that, you could definitely get a chamber reamer that's got some free bore in it and launch some high BC bullets if you wanted to go that route.
So I was gonna ask. I wonder what you guys thought. What bullet type do you think would be the best for the 6.5-06 Wildcat? Because people hand load them.
I think it
right?
depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
If I was a deer hunter and I was going to shoot a 6.5-06, I would probably be looking at conventional cup and core type projectiles. It's high velocity, but it's not such a it's not so fast that you can't keep a cup and core bullet together at normal ranges. So core lock bullets would be fine. There's a whole host of them out there. Conventional spear bullets. Like I said, there's really nothing specific about a 6.5-06 that says here I'm gonna move into monolithics because otherwise they're gonna blow apart. So
right.
Just pick the bullets that you like for everything else, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the 6.5-06 is a great idea. I mean, it's right in between, like you said, that 25-06.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't done anything with it. And you could modernize it a little bit. Take you're seeing everybody these days with new cartridges with the free bore, the type free bore, like Creedmoor style, and but we'll see.
I'm sure it's on. We have 6.5s really come into it like these past few years. 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, all that. So I'm sure it's coming.
I don't know. Every time a new 6.5 comes out, that's all you see is like another 6.5.
That's true.
So yeah, we'd probably get a lot of hate.
Yeah, but back to things that don't have the 06 name in it.
Yep. So if you keep going up in caliber, the next one's your 270 Winchester. So we've talked about that one before. That's a 1925 introduction, and it's got a little bit longer neck on it. So yes, it is in family on the 06 case. It's more like the 03, because they shortened the neck to the 06. But it's the same. For us, it's the same draw pieces. It's all the same stuff. Just trim it to a different length. But so the 270 Winchester, again, kind of like 30-06, most everybody's probably heard of a 270 Winchester.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, you're still kind of going up in caliber, 277 versus 264 on the 6.5. Bullet weights are probably going to be, you can get on the lighter side and get 100s and 110s if you want to kind of be just in varmint category, but most of your big game bullets are going to be 130 to 150. So you're continuing to go up, starting to cross over probably in my opinion, on the light side of elk. But still a good tried and true deer antelope gun, sheep rifle. You can't talk about 270 without talking about O'Connor, and that sort of thing, big sheep hunter. And of course, it was used on a lot bigger game. I mean, it's been used on elk and moose and bear and a ton of African plains game. So it's very capable and still, mild recoil. And that's one that I've got two 270s. I've got a classic wood gun that was actually built by Roger Beeson, which was, the son of the builder Al Beeson, who built rifles for O'Connor. Not all of them, but, your most famous, number one, number two. And then I've got a synthetic version, on a Model 70 as well that a guy in Utah built. So I've got the all-weather and I've got the nice one. So I haven't used them too much, though. I think I've only harvested one deer. With a 270? I've never hunted the Beeson rifle. And then I took a mule deer in Texas with my Legend a few years back when we were doing core lock tipped. But you got to realize I grew up in Illinois. And so I couldn't hunt deer with a rifle.
Right, that's true. So you got a late start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and most of the stuff that I've done, it's been a little bit of everything. I've used bigger stuff in Africa or 300s and 338s and whatnot. And so some of it is, if it's a media hunt, there's a particular cartridge they want you to use or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, the 270 is, I think it's a good cartridge and it's very popular, but I can't say that I've used it extensively.
No one wants to hear me talk about the 270 anymore. They're tired of hearing me say it.
Yeah. we know.
We know. We get it.
I'm a 270 girl.
Yep. Yeah. As soon as you brought that up that it was in the Odd Six family, I was like, oh no, people are going to hate that. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, 270.
Sure.
But I think it's a great cartridge. And like I said, I use it for everything. So, and I do have other guns, y'all. Okay. I do know what they feel like. I know how they perform, and I still choose my 270. So, after 270, if you keep climbing that scale.
Yep. So just keep creeping up in caliber, 280 Remington. So 277 to 284. And that was a 1957. So not really competing with the 270 Win, which was 1925. I mean, you're quite a bit later. But 7mm bullet, 284. Your normal bullet weights there are going to be 140 up to, your 160s. You could probably launch some 175s, cup and core shorter bullets. But for the 280, you're looking at 140 to 160. And so usage wise, kind of similar.
Right.
You're talking a deer antelope rifle. You're probably, as you keep going up that bullet weight and caliber spectrum, your size of animal, your penetration levels, your diameter of expansion, things like that. And also depending on the construction of the bullet. But, you're starting to talk more like, a little bit more elk adequate, that sort of thing. The 280 isn't real popular. I mean, for the people who've used it, they love it. My guide on my elk hunt this year has a 280 Remington, and he loved it, and his wife shoots it now. And, he told me I don't know how many elk that he's killed with core lock bullets with it. It just worked, but I think that the 270 probably got rooted early on. And it's like, well, why do I need that? It's so close. Why do I need to buy another rifle in 280 Remington?
Yeah,
unless you're just a gun nut and you want another cartridge and something to play with.
Which most people listening to this are probably.
Yeah. So, I've got, I had my grandpa's brother, I've talked about him before on this show that, nostalgic cartridge guy, the Mauser 757s and things like that, and 257 Roberts. And I remember going over there as a kid, and he really didn't, he had one or two Magnums.
Right.
And everything else was what I call standard cartridges. And he really liked the 280. He had a couple 270s. He really liked the 280 Remington. And, of course, he had some 30-06s and all different types of rifles. And, again, he had the Remington semi-autos and the pump guns and 700s and Model 70s and all that. And so, but, again, 280 Remington, a little bit less recoil than the 30-06. But, similar use, not as popular today. It's, probably one SKU, maybe two.
We have two. I believe, yeah.
And that's all based on orders. So as people, stop buying it, use other things and whatnot, we're not going to make as much of it.
We're making classic core locked and core lock tipped.
Yep.
So, kind of for your newer generation who likes that tipped bullet, and for your classic guys who like the core locked. So,
yep, 100%. So, you go up from there and then you run right into your 30-06. But let me back up. 280 Ackley improved.
Okay.
So that's one that was a 2007 SAMI introduction. And we've talked about it, and what improved is before, but if you basically take the body taper out and square the shoulder up, make it a sharper shoulder, if you can get more powder in there, you're going to get more velocity. And so a 280 Ackley improved is a fairly popular cartridge today because of, individuals, I guess as an industry or consumers as a whole, looking at higher ballistic coefficient bullets, lack of recoil, non-magnum. I don't need to push something as fast as I can anymore because I have scopes that I can dial or hold over lines in my reticles. So it's not all about a maximum point blank range type 0 to where I have to be within plus or minus 0.3 to be able to hit something, and or I'm guessing where I'm going to hold over. So velocity isn't as critical. It's wind drift and things like that, and energy on target. But it kind of falls into a nice balance of non-magnum recoil, enough velocity to be a big game cartridge, good selection of bullets, and you can put usually 5 rounds down in a gun on the .6 family cases, and with sharp square shoulders and things like that, they typically don't stretch as much from a reloading standpoint. So the 280 Ackley is there's a few versions of it, but that's one that a lot of people are using. So my guide, he was shooting, now that his wife took over his 280 rim, he was on a 280 Ackley and shooting that, and that was his elk rifle, and he enjoyed it. I think he had harvested game out to like 600 yards, which, that's not a short poke, but so there's that.
Yeah. The 280 Ackley is not something I feel like that's really well known to everybody. It's not like your 30-06 or 270
No.
But it's still a good cartridge.
Yeah. And it's not, the 280 AI, it's not artificial intelligence. But the thing about the 280 AI that, again, I think that it took a while for it to catch on. This stuff was wildcat a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how consumers are looking at bullets, the velocities, what they can do with them, it's a good cartridge. And that's why I think it was Nosler, was the ones that brought it to Sammy in 2007.
I mean, a lot of these and a lot of things I feel like you're going to see in the future is wildcat cartridges that have been adopted by brands.
Oh my gosh. Well, anytime there's a new case that comes out, it's been wildcatted every which way.
Right.
Up, down, small, it don't matter. It cut them down short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome because it's kind of like, the individual still has like a say.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you can get custom dies and reamers made and experiment, and it's people's hobby. They enjoy it,
Yeah.
So, anyways, you go up from the 280 and then you fall right into your 30-06. So 284 to 30 cal. And then from there, what's bigger? Well, there have been some 338-06s wildcatted.
I've never heard of that one. So that's a new one.
I've never messed with one. If I was using a 338, I was typically using something that was faster than that. With big, I've got one wildcat that's kind of like a rum that's in the G&A family. But you've got the 338 Win Mag, 340 Weatherby's and whatnot. So I don't hear about the 338-06 much. There's a few people that have them. I don't think it's a real popular one like a 6.5-06. That's one that, I don't even know anybody that owns one. And I mean, not that I have to know people. It's
right.
like, oh, well, John doesn't know them. It ain't.
It's not a thing.
Yeah. So, moderate range, elk rifle, things like that. The 338-06 would be pretty good. However, you can go bigger yet to the 35 Whelen. And so that's your, again, .6 case up to the 358 caliber bullet. And that one was a 1987 Sammy introduction. But again, wildcatted, many years before people used them and everything. And the 35 Whelen Europe, again, 35 caliber, moderate range rifle, shooting, what's it good for? I'm probably shooting, black bear, I'm shooting moose, I'm shooting elk at moderate ranges.
As these like bullets get bigger, right? Does the velocities get lower? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh yeah, if your case size stays the same, and you go up, you can. And a lot of it depends on too what weight you're talking about. Like if you go look at a, and I mean we can just do it real quick. If you take a 35 Whelen, 200 grain,
okay,
and then look at a 30-06, 200 grain. I wouldn't be surprised if, based on efficiency and the larger caliber, you might see very similar velocity, if not a little bit more out of the Whelen, just because it's not throttled back, so to speak.
Okay.
So we got 35 Whelen 200 grain here at 2675, and I don't know what the Whelen pressure is off the top of my head. And then let's see here, 30-06 and 200. Well, we don't have a 200, but we got a 180 at 2,700. So you're talking, that's pretty close. So you can't just say, is the bullet bigger caliber? Is it going to be slower? You got to look at what the weight is and things like that. So a lot of times you can actually see them get a little bit faster
Okay.
Because you're not throttling it down.
Okay.
You're not necking it down. So a 200 grain and a 35 Whelen and a 200 grain and a 30-06, they're pretty close to the same thing in speed. You just bigger diameter.
Right. So it all depends on what you want to use it for and what you like and what your gun likes.
But now you can get up to a 250 grain in a Whelen. And we don't do a 250 and 30-06. You're doing 220. So that's gonna slow it down.
Okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, there's a band of bullet weights for each caliber. 25 caliber is around 100, 80, 90, 100, somewhere in that range, and they're well over 3,000 feet per second. Can I put a 100 grain bullet in a 280 or 270? Sure. And will it be as faster than what it was in that 25? Yeah. But most of the time you're seeing 130s to 150s.
Okay.
Because you're taking advantage of the bigger caliber. So
right.
Better ballistic coefficient, higher sectional density, so you're going to get deeper penetration. So though you can go use the same weight of a smaller caliber, typically you're not doing that.
Because you want that bigger caliber for the denser.
Now, if you're trying to be
bullet.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. If you're trying to be versatile and just use things that are, here's a varmint cartridge. I'm going to go shoot this light bullet. I got one rifle, and then I don't want to shoot my elk with that bullet. I don't want to shoot my coyote with my elk bullet.
Sure.
That sort of thing. If you want 2 different loads and play with zeros and things like that, then absolutely you can, take advantage of that. But
change it for the season for the hunt, really.
Yeah. So, I mean, of those, like I said, I've shot some 30-06 rifles. I've hunted a little bit with the 270. We'll continue to hunt with that. And then I will probably get some more of these, like I said, now that you can buy pre-fit barrels and things like that, and you don't have to have a gunsmith build a rifle or whatnot. And I'm about tapped out on room to put stuff. So having continuing to get another half dozen rifles just to play with the cartridges, I'll just buy a barrel.
Yeah, new barrels. Like I said before, I have like one of those interchangeable barrel rifles, and it is a room saver.
Sure.
So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. I don't know I could do that with my only rifle. I'd probably get really bored.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of different look or stock paint color or wood or, whatever. But now that I've got what I've got, it's kind of nice just to say, that'll scratch that itch of going and playing with a new load or a new bullet or a new cartridge. And I'm not wearing the barrel out on some of my other rifles. But
yeah, I'm definitely, I picked the .06 family because of the nostalgia, but like to hear that there's stuff coming into the future, like the 6.5-06, which has been around for a while, but it hasn't been brought to Sammy yet, is kind of exciting.
And there's probably still stuff that we don't even know about yet.
Right. That people are messing with
might be right around
there.
the corner.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time this one comes out, January 6th, we'll be hearing about all the new stuff. SHOT Show will be a little bit down the road.
Exactly. And again, I love that the individual can still have such an effect on like the entire industry. That's why I like the hunting shooting community.
Anything you want.
Yep.
Change it around, change the caliber, change the length. It's up to you.
Yeah. Zach, what do you think is going to be your next purchase in the 06 family?
I don't know. For whatever reason, the 280 intrigues me.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. It just, I don't know. I guess the kind of scarcity of it compared to other things.
Are you thinking 280 Remington or 280 Ackley improved?
I haven't looked into them enough to really decide, but inherently I would think Remington just because I like the Remington name.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
That's what the guide said in Colorado.
Oh, really?
He liked to be different. Everybody was shooting this cartridge or that cartridge, and it was just kind of an identity thing. He's like, well, I'm shooting a 280 Remington, and not everybody was shooting that.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the reasons the 280 AI got real popular or gained popularity, it's real close in velocity to a 7 rim mag. And so when you think about how much you're giving up, barrel length of the rifle, 24 to 26, how many rounds you get in the rifle, things like that, people were like, it's pretty close. It's not quite, but it's close.
It's a good choice.
And, you can say, well, what are the pros and cons? And so, there's a pretty good following. I mean, I know a few people within the company that have 280 Ackley improved, and they've used them, for their primary hunting rifle for everything that you'd use an 06 for. 30-06.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, guys. Remington is on the rise. Like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to share this podcast with your hunting or shooting buddies. Be on the lookout for the next episode. You can find us anywhere you can stream podcasts. And if you have any questions for me or Zach or John here, you can email us at podcast@remington.com. Thanks for listening.